broadcasting live from the Albay PIO News Center, providing you the most exclusive news updates from all over the province. This is News at 12. In the local scene, the Provincial Social Welfare and Development Office of Albay received 3 major awards during the Gawad Serbisyong Pagkalinga ceremony in Legazpi City. The province was honored with the Gawad Serbisyong Masigasig and Gawad Serbisyong Matapat for its 2022 to 2023 performance. Albay also earned the Level 3 Gawad Serbisyong Mapagkalinga, placing third with its highest score to date. The Social Welfare Office said the recognition inspires its continued commitment to dedicated public service. The award followed documented improvements in the province's service delivery capacity. Meanwhile, 3 officials from the Philippine Councilors League Albay chapter were elected to key positions in the PCL Region 5 leadership. Patricia Gonzalez Alsua of Legal City was chosen as the Regional Public Relations Officer. Lourdes Belangel Berses of Tabac City was elected Regional Treasurer. Ray Noel Salceda of Legal City was named Regional Councilor Director. Councilors from across Bicol gathered for the regional reorganization and officer training in Muntinlupa City. The election of 3 representatives from Albay highlights the province's growing influence in regional governance. In other news, Albay has opened its 18-day campaign to end violence against women with a training session on key women's rights laws. The activity focused on a Magna Carta of Women and the Safe Spaces Act while strengthening the Gender and Development Focal Point system. Provincial leaders emphasized the need to advance policies and programs that protect women and girls from violence and discrimination. Resource speakers from the TSWD and the Commission on Human Rights led discussions on legal protection and gender-based harassment. The campaign runs until December 12 in support of nationwide efforts to promote safer and more inclusive communities for women. In the national scene, the number of anomalous flood control projects in the Philippines reached its highest in 2023 and 2024, according to the Department of Public Works and Highways records presenting during Senate deliberation on the agency's 2026 budget. Former Senate President Francis Escudero cited DPWH data showing that between 2018 and 2025, there were 30,000 flood control projects, of which 8,000 were validated. Among these, 421 projects were identified as ghost projects. Senate Finance Committee Chairman Sherwin Gatchalian confirmed these figures, noting that validation is ongoing. Escudero asked when most of these ghost projects were budgeted. Gatchalian responded that the peak years were 2023 and 2024, a finding consistent with previous statements by Senate President Pro Tempore Panfilo Lacson. Regarding the current budget, Gatchalian said funds could still be used until 2026. He added that 76% of the budget has been obligated, while 49% has been disbursed. Gatchalian outlined measures to prevent future anomalies, including reshuffling district engineers, strict inspections of projects, and the launch of a transparency portal where the public can report or provide information on project status. He also said project cost has been reduced due to recosting, saving up to 50% on average, depending on the region, materials, and logistical considerations. Around 255 billion pesos worth of flood control projects for 2026 were removed from the DPWH budget under the National Expenditure Program. Meanwhile, Former House Speaker Martin Romualdez has been recommended for indictment in the flood control scandal by the Department of Public Works and Highways and the Independent Commission for Infrastructure. The recommendation emerged during the Senate's deliberation on the DPWH budget. DPWH Secretary Vince Dizon said the action was based solely on evidence reviewed by investigators. The materials included DPWH project documents, records linked to companies associated with former Congressman Saldico, and sworn statement presented in earlier Senate hearings. Dizon said the findings were submitted to the Office of the Ombudsman in recent weeks. Senator Francis Escudero questioned Dizon directly after receiving approval from the Senate. Escudero later said investigators were able to proceed without political interference. He also urged the public to disregard claims that could distract from the ongoing inquiry. Dizon explained that earlier referrals involving cost project had already resulted in cases filed before the Sandigan Bayan. He added that these cases led to arrest warrants for several individuals, including former officials and private contractors. Another story. The Philippine National Police has warned participants of the 2nd trillion peso march that acts of rebellion, insurrection, sedition, or incitement are strictly prohibited under Philippine law. Acting PNP Chief Lieutenant General Jose Melencio Nartates Jr. urged protesters to cooperate with authorities to ensure safety. The warning comes after violent incidents during the first march in September, which resulted in more than 200 arrests, including over 80 minors, and at least 2 deaths. For the November 30 rally in Quezon City, police said the protest is allowed only at the People Power Monument until 8 p.m. Movement outside designated routes along while Plains and Temple Drive will not be permitted. Areas near Malacañang Palace, including Menjola Street, remain off limits. The march will highlight alleged corruption and flood control and other infrastructure projects. Authorities have promised to enforce the law firmly but fairly and urge participants to remain peaceful and responsible. In the news outside the country, Ukraine and Russia reported casualties on Tuesday after overnight strikes as negotiators worked to revise a U.S.-backed peace plan ahead of a November 27 deadline. President Donald Trump's original 28-point proposal, criticized in Europe, would have required Ukraine to cede territory, reduce its military, and renounce NATO membership. EU and allies have pushed for revision to ensure Ukraine's sovereignty. Russian officials reported at least 3 deaths in southern regions from Ukrainian attacks, while Ukrainian authorities confirmed at least 1 death and 7 injuries after strikes on energy infrastructure. Residents in both countries sought shelter amid air raid sirens and explosions. Unupdated peace framework was announced after emergency talks in Geneva between U.S., European, and Ukrainian delegations. Ukrainian officials said the draft reflects most of their key priorities. And finally, for the news outside the country, Israeli forces launched an airstrike on Sunday in Beirut's southern suburbs, targeting what officials describe as Hezbollah's chief of staff, a figure they say has led the group's military buildup. Israel said it will continue taking action whenever necessary to defend its security. Israel's defense minister warned that anyone who threatens the country will face severe consequences. While Hezbollah official condemned the strike as a serious escalation aimed at the key figure without identifying the person targeted. The strike was the first in the area since June, part of the series of operations that Israel says are aimed at stopping Hezbollah from rebuilding its capabilities after the 2024 ceasefire. Lebanese President Joseph Aoun urged the international community to act swiftly to stop the attacks, warning they endangered Lebanon and its people. That's all for the news at 12, November 27, 2025. We'll be back tomorrow for more news updates. Thanks to our news writers, LJ Lorejo and Naomi Ruth Hernandez. And on the technical side, we have Richard Bobbies. Our Provincial Information Officer OIC, Marty Gonzalez. Under the supervision of our Governor, Noel E. Rosal. I am Lea Guazon. Thank you for subscribing.